The United States of America, the greatest country in the world. If it wasn't, we wouldn't have millions of illegals trying to become American citizens. It's because we're free. You're in control of your destiny. You, as a parent, are free to raise your children as you see fit, right? According to your family values, not the government, not some king, but you. So when I hear the President of the United States tell us that when your children are in school, they belong to them, the government, and the teachers, who are basically extensions of the government, just as power hungry, just as corrupt, and just as shady. But when they claim that your children are theirs when they're in their classrooms, schools, gyms, gymnasiums, and locker rooms, I cringe. And so should you, because that's just creepy, period. And it shows you how the radical modern-day Democrat Party has become.
Because, you know, look, these aren't, we always talk about these children. They're not someone else's children. They're our children.
That's Biden yesterday at the 2022 Teacher of the Year ceremony, speaking to a room full of teachers. According to the left, your children are on loan. They get the real education from big government, not you. You just get to keep them overnight. But the shaping, molding, character building, and values, you know, the grooming, well, that's handled by some liberal activist teacher, like this one.
Look for teaching the children tomorrow. Feels very Harvey Milk meets Harvey Dent. I'm here to recruit you.
The fit check. My admin's actually very okay with me wearing heels. I'm coming to school in drag sometimes. I used to put on makeup, but now it's too early in the morning, so that's not happening anymore. But like, yeah, they're pretty cool with it. They just think I'm making a safe place for my kids.
You see, even the teacher says it. My kids, not yours, folks. This is alarming. These leftists have taken the culture war to a whole other level. They're targeting your children, grooming them, and they're not even trying to hide that fact. And Joe Biden is facilitating all of it. And you know what? He really does believe it. This wasn't one of the many gaffes because he doubled down on it later in his speech.
You've heard me say it many times about our children, but it's true. They're all our children. And the reason you're the Teachers of the Year is because you recognize that. They're not somebody else's children. They're like yours when they're in the classroom.
No, Joe. No. They're not the teacher's children. They're not your children, not government's children. They're parents' children. There you have it. The modern-day Democrat Party. They believe you're not smart enough, you're not capable enough to have any involvement in your children's education, and this has been a growing theme on the left. You might remember this former President Obama saying something like this.
If you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
Yeah, you didn't build that. We did it. We did it for you. You didn't risk your life, your livelihood, your family's health, your family's well-being. You didn't risk that. We gave it to you. We're government. This is what the Democrats think. You didn't build that. That's not your business. And your children, well, they're not yours either. They belong to the government, to the teachers. They're on loan to you. So when parents around the country confronted school boards and local governments about left-wing indoctrination, what did the Biden White House do? They sicked the feds on parents. They coordinated with the National School Boards Association, helping them draft a letter. The White House did this with the board association, asking the feds to investigate concerned parents, likening them to domestic terrorists. This is what happens now when you get a parent involved with your children's education. They sick the feds on you. Like an obedient old dog, the Biden Attorney General, Merrick Garland, opened FBI investigations on parents. Allow me to repeat that. Teachers told the Biden administration to get the FBI on squeaky parents, and they did. Can you imagine in America? If you missed my monologue at the beginning of the show, you should rewind the DVR and watch it. This is exactly what I was talking about. Earlier this week, Biden's Education Secretary, Miguel Cardona, met with the National Association of Secondary School Principals, the same organization that asked him to ban hostile parents for pushing back on critical race theory, God forbid. The same organization that celebrated the DOJ's announcement that the FBI will be investigating outspoken parents. And as far as I'm concerned, anyone who is a parent has a right to be upset when their children are exposed to indoctrination like this.
news source that wrote an article about me that seemed really focused on the flags I have in my classroom. There's a couple of things you missed actually in here. The first thing you missed is all 13 principles of the Black Lives Matter movement hung up at the top of my wall here, because I want my students to know that that flag is not just a decoration, but that we actually live out these principles in our everyday life.
Training children to become Black Lives Matter activists, the same organization that pushed the viral lie, hands up, don't shoot. Remember that one? Back in 2014 when Officer Darren Wilson shot Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. The same Black Lives Matter movement that inflamed racial tensions, leading to a summer filled with riots. And what do? They justify the looting as reparations.
I don't care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes. That makes sure that that person can make some kind of money, because this city obviously doesn't care about them. Not only that, that's reparations.
Got it. Same BLM organization whose core values and beliefs is to, quote, disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages. And there you have it. Black Lives Matter, saying the quiet part out loud. The left's plan to destroy the nuclear family. That's what Joe Biden means when he says they're not your children. They belong to them, the teachers. You just get to watch the children overnight while the government and activist teachers go home to rest, only to start brainwashing, grooming your children again the next day. Groomers, grooming the groomees, the puppies, your kids, for what nefarious reasons? Who knows? But it can't be good. You see, the plan has always been to destroy the family unit and make parents irrelevant.
I believe parents should be in charge of their kids' education.
I'm not going to let parents come into schools and actually take books out and make their own decision.
You vetoed it.
So, yeah, I stopped the bill that I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach.
Unbelievable. And the audience is clapping that. It's not your kids. Well, we all know how that played out. Glenn Youngkin is now the Virginia governor, in large part because of how CRT and the left-wing indoctrination spurred parents into action. For far too long, parents kind of just sat back and trusted the education process, trusted the teachers. Oops. Meanwhile, activist liberal teachers quietly indoctrinated our nation's youth. You ever wonder why your kids come back from school raging liberals? It's because of that. But the cat's out of the bag now. They've been exposed, and parents aren't having it anymore. Parents across the country are now taking back control of their children's education, preserving the family unit, the very thing the left seeks to destroy. And now even Joe Biden, the president of the United States, openly admits it. Your children don't belong to you. They belong to them.